Jyscal Guado, former leader of the Guado and a maester of Yevon, was a minor character in the events of Final Fantasy X, but his involvement in the story serving as the catalyst of Seymour's unleashed evil introduced us to a misunderstood antagonist who believed that the only way to cure the world of his upbringing was to destroy everything so they would not have the same experience as he did in his upbringing. But who was this catalyst? Who was the one to have brought up upon Seymour's life and evil upon the world of Spira? That is what we will be exploring in today's video as we take a look at the life of Seymour's father, Jyscal Guado. While it isn't known when Jyscal Guado was born nor of his childhood upbringing, it is likely that he lived in harmony with the Guado, as he was a rejoiced and popular leader due to his actions of introducing the Guado to Yevon and eventually becoming a maester and representative of the Guado tribe, bringing them one step closer to peace amongst the tribes in Spira. 28 years before the events of Final Fantasy X, Jyscal wed a human woman and had a son, Seymour. Jyscal had hoped that the birth of his half-Guado, half-human son would bring the two races together. Unfortunately, it had the adverse effect, and Seymour was seen as an abomination by both races. Fearing an uprising from his people, Jyscal had made the decision to send Seymour and his mother to Baj Temple, where Seymour was trained as a summoner at the age of 8. 2 years later, Seymour and his mother embarked on their pilgrimage to Zanarkand to defeat Sin. This was secretly approved by Jyscal as he had hoped that the successful journey of his son would see him in a better light by his people. Due to the Guado having their own records of the mechanics of the final summoning, Seymour's mother learned of them through Jyscal and used it to become Seymour's final Aeon, who we come to know as the Dark Aeon Anima. However, this would also end in despair, as the death of Seymour's mother and the only one who showed compassion for him led him to a dark path that would eventually mold the personality of the Seymour we see in the events of the game, something that remains hidden initially, but Jyscal slowly senses the growing evil in his son. Seymour eventually returns to Baj after deciding not to use the final Aeon to defeat Sin, and take his mother's faith statue with him. In this time, he formulated a plan to save Spira from the cycle of death by becoming Sin itself. At some point after Braska's calm, the internal fighting between the Guado had subsided, so Jyscal used this opportunity to bring back his son to Guado Salam and assist him in the duties of a priest. A year later after his return, Maester Yomaika's sub-racist appeasement policy takes effect, and Jyscal becomes a maester of Yevon as the representative of the Guado. However, it was also during this time that his sense of growing evil in his son, and eventually led to his death, when Seymour had plotted and successfully killed his own father to become the successor as a maester of Yevon, but not before he creates a sphere documenting how his actions led to the sudden nihilistic personality of Seymour and pleads to stop him before he executes his ultimate plan. When Yuna and her party depart the far plane, a sent Jyscal attempts to leave with them to warn her of Seymour and drops the sphere in the process, in which contents Yuna and the party eventually learn of Seymour's actions and resolve to stop him, which shaped the storyline of the party's interaction with Seymour for the rest of the game. 2 years later, upon the discovery of Via Infinito, Yuna, Riku, and Pain explore and find Jyscal before eventually transforming into the Black Elemental and engaging in battle with the party, leading to Jyscal's ultimate defeat. And thus ends the tale of one of the brightest beacons of hope for the Guado tribe to establish peace in Spira, and that, in an ironic twist, produced one of the darkest characters in Final Fantasy X. But his persistence to warn those of the living world of his son's maniacal ways led to the ultimate disruption and defeat of Seymour, thus avenging his death through Yuna and the party. Jyscal was a wise ruler who had the support of his people and would always do what is best for his tribe. Let me know what you thought of Jyscal. Did you think he made the right decision by banishing his wife and son in order to ease tensions amongst the Guado? Perhaps you would like to see a storyline in which Jyscal never marries a human woman. Let me know in the comment section below and consider subscribing to the channel if you enjoy these lore videos. Other than that, this is Enzo signing out, and that, as they say, is that.